Can China outlast Trump? Amnesty International gets Chinese pushback in New York. And the worst boy band ever. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. This is China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This week's China News Headlines. Months of trade negotiations with China have failed. And are you really surprised? Now the Trump administration is preparing 25% tariffs on an additional $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. Obviously, the Chinese Communist Party is not happy about the tariffs. Chinese leader Xi Jinping called them foolish. No, foolish is the Chinese Communist Party censoring the letter N, believing that will somehow stop people from criticizing Xi Jinping. Side note, it didn't work. Anyway, with respect to the tariffs, state-run People's Daily released this snappy graphic on its official WeChat account. It says, negotiate? Sure. Fight? Anytime. Bully us? Wishful thinking. So the Chinese Communist Party is obviously upset, but I doubt surprised. The Trump administration was demanding reforms that the authoritarian regime is simply unwilling to make. That could be why the Chinese regime blew up the trade deal. According to Reuters, in each of the 7 chapters of the draft trade deal, China had deleted its commitments to change laws to resolve core complaints that caused the United States to launch a trade war: theft of U.S. intellectual property and trade secrets, forced technology transfers, competition policy, access to financial services, and currency manipulation. Maybe they expected the U.S. government to back down and sign the trade deal anyway. But that's not what happened. So, what impact will this have on China? Well, the Chinese regime has kept their economy afloat no matter what disasters they've faced so far. Bad debt, corruption, a housing bubble, you name it. They're really good at finding short-term solutions. In this case, there's the hundreds of billions of dollars that Beijing has pumped into the country's economy in recent months, as well as the loans that officials have pressed state-run banks to make to businesses. My guess is that the Chinese regime is trying to hang on till the 2020 elections, in the hopes that Trump will be replaced with someone a lot softer on China. And when it comes to election interference, they've already been racking up experience points. But if the Chinese regime thinks it'll get easier for them as long as a Democrat wins in 2020, they should think again. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeted that Trump should hang tough on China. And most of the current Democrats running for president are now also hanging tough on China. And while former Vice President Joe Biden recently said he didn't see China as a competitor, he was criticized by Bernie Sanders. Yes, Bernie Sanders. I can't wait for those two to debate. 2 Canadian citizens in China have been charged with spying: Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. Chinese authorities arrested them both in December. That was after Canada arrested Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou for extradition to the U.S., and the Canadian government refused to simply let her go arbitrarily. But don't worry, the Chinese charges against the 2 Canadians are not arbitrary. They're definitely guilty of being Canadians in the wrong place at the wrong time. Amnesty International has spent years criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. But Chinese-backed companies have spent years buying up real estate in New York, so guess who's winning? Amnesty International just had their lease denied by China. They were trying to move their New York headquarters to a building in Lower Manhattan called Wall Street Plaza. But just as the organization was about to sign a lease last week, the building's owner said that its new parent company, a giant shipping conglomerate owned by the Chinese government, decided to veto the offer. Such a troll move, which is why I'm giving this a rating of 4 Pepe the Poos. Huawei, the Chinese telecom company the U.S. says is a national security threat and probably receives funding from the Chinese military. A lot of countries have banned Huawei from building sensitive tech infrastructure, but not the UK. Why not? Aren't they concerned? Of course not. Huawei has told them they're ready to sign a no spy, no backdoor contract. I mean, when was the last time you heard Verizon give that guarantee? The Huawei chief said, "We are willing to sign no spy agreements with governments, including the UK government, to commit ourselves, to commit our equipment to meeting the no spy, no backdoor standards." Now, believe it or not, there are still some people who are not satisfied with a no spy agreement and still consider Huawei a threat. I mean, there's just no pleasing some people. Speaking of not pleasing people, Google. Last year, The Intercept revealed a secret project Google was working on to create a censored search app for China. Google spent a long time denying its existence. Well, in an interview with the BBC, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt defended the censored app that Google had to eventually admit really existed. It would have many benefits and would help change China to be more open, which is obviously why Google spends so much time lying about its existence and not even telling most of their employees what they were actually working on. Sounds like something to be proud of. Unlike Google, Wikipedia was unwilling to censor their website in China, which is why the Chinese language Wikipedia has been blocked in China since 2015. Well, now it's been totally banned in all languages. Oh no, now Chinese trolls will have to use a VPN to alter Wikipedia's controversial China content for the rest of the world. Now sure, Chinese internet censorship and surveillance seems bad, but on the plus side, they're giving us the latest, greatest boy band experience. China Youth Credit Management is a group working with the Communist Youth League. They've recently designed an app to incentivize positive action by putting its users under constant surveillance. But just in case this amazing sounding app doesn't sell itself, China Youth Credit Management has created a music video to promote it. It features China's popular boy band TF Boys and some other celebrities. I love how clean cut and obedient they all look. I bet they all get good grades, return library books on time, and stay away from subversive content on the internet. But this is great news for TF Boys. Everyone knows you're not a real boy band until you make a propaganda music video. Just like NSYNC's famous Bye 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 music video extolling the virtues of being puppets of American imperialism. And finally, a man in China has been arrested for giving dogs illegal names. Apparently he named his dogs after two common job titles, Chengguang and Xieguan. Chengguangs are officials employed in urban areas to tackle low-level crime, while Xieguan are informal community workers such as traffic assistants. Local law enforcement, and I use that term loosely in regards to China, said the man caused great harm to the nation and the city's urban management in terms of their feelings. And hurting the feelings of law enforcement is not very nice. So they threw the guy in jail for 10 days. That'll teach him to respect the rule of law. And now, it's time for me to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored with $1 or more per episode through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Today's question comes from, David Schwimmer's Russian twin. Chris, what is your favorite type of computer password? Is it like a phrase about something absurd and funny relating to the CCP, making hilarious for everyone as they watch you? Great question. My password is Winnie the Pooh, Free Tibet, Pro-Taiwan, Tiananmen 1989. Not only is it basically uncrackable, it makes me laugh every time I type it. Cybersecurity is important. Thanks for your question. And thanks to everyone watching. We could not make this show without your support, whether it's supporting us through Patreon or just watching and sharing the show with your friends and family. So thank you from me and everyone on the China Uncensored team. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.